My name is Daniel Dazi, and in our first story, the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, says it does not have resources for disaster relief as the flooding season begins. NADMO boss Asiman told the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament they are saddled with a 34 million cedi debt and 28 court suits over debt incurred before 2017. He says money is being released to them from the Finance Ministry this year is being spent on debt repayment, leaving them with no resources to deal with disasters as the rains set in. Interior Minister Ambrose Terry confirmed NADMO does not have resources, but he assures government is committed to releasing funds when needed to help victims. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us with more updates on this. Joseph, what else has come up as the Public Accounts Committee sitting?
And so, mainly on the issue having to do with NADMO's preparedness to deal with disasters, the members of Parliament Public Accounts Committee, led by James Chavez, were categorical in seeking answers from them whether they are prepared for the floods. And the NADMO officials, led by the Director General, made the point very categorically that they are not, because of the absence of resources. So then it makes it impossible for them to get relief items, to be able to step in to help support communities. And for them, that has been a major challenge. And so the MPs, particularly the chairman and others, have been making the point that they would want to see a situation where there is quick and timely release of resources to NADMO. A conversation came up around the District Assembly's Common Fund and the fact that NADMO usually gets 3% of the amount. So there is the need for the necessary processes to be ensured that they get that amount in full. And this is something that the committee has indicated that they are going to make the adequate recommendations to Parliament as an institution, so that then a conversation around how, usually, even for the DACS, there are some deductions before NADMO gets the 3%, but the committee says they'll push so that then they get the full 3%.
Gakpo, did they give us any indication as to when this action will be taken?
No, this is something that the committee says that when it comes to the necessary recommendations, it's when they are done with their hearing and they submit a report to Parliament. That's when we see a situation of some of these recommendations coming.
Finally, Joe, was this something that was done as a result of the recent flooding, or this was a planned meeting with NADMO?
NADMO officials are here to respond to questions on how they spend their money for the year 2016. And there have been issues about how some former staff of NADMO earned salaries even after they had left the institution. And one gentleman, for example, had continued taking an amount of 22,000 Ghana cedis. And so it's for some of those infractions as contained in the Auditor General's report that they appeared before the committee to respond to questions.
Aegis reports for which year?
2016.
Thank you very much, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, for joining us. He's our man in Parliament. Now, Sanitation Minister Cecilia Abena-Dapa says government has allotted 197 million cedis to be used to desilt choked drains and complete other drainage works. Speaking during a briefing session between the Greater Accra Metropolitan Water and Sanitation Project and her ministry, she expressed worry about Ghanaians' attitudes towards keeping the city clean and said authorities will not hesitate in dealing with persons who are caught disposing of waste indiscriminately at unauthorized places. Maxwell Agbagba joins me via telephone for more. Now, Maxwell, we know that the Minister for Works and Housing mentioned 194 million last week in Parliament. Is this a figure separate from what the Sanitation Minister said? Do we know that?
Well, Daniel, it's not too clear whether this figure is separate, but information that the minister gave to us was that this money is going to be used in the Ministry of Works and Works and Housing. But she wasn't specific about whether the figure is different from what the Minister of Works and Housing mentioned sometime last time.
Did she tell us where these projects will take place? Was she specific?
No, she was not specific about where the projects will take place. Earlier when we spoke to the project coordinator of the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area, they are in charge of sanitation and water and sanitation projects in the Greater Accra region. He was telling us about some contracts that have been signed for them to build 22 major drains here in Accra. Again, we are not certain whether this contract is connected. The 107 million that the minister mentioned. She's still speaking. So once it's done, we'll try as much as possible to get all clarification.
Okay. So Maxwell, let's try and find out as well if the Odo drain will be mentioned, because the Works and Housing Minister Samuel Etacha has mentioned that work is ongoing on the Odo drain.
Exactly. Well, on the Odo drain, she was very specific. She mentioned the Odo drain. She said it's going to be one of the focus areas for the ministry, but she was not particularly happy about the sanitary conditions that persist in some areas. She believes part of the problem is attitudinal. She says there are enough laws to deal with people found culpable of disposing of indiscipline, and that the duty actually lies on the assembly to make sure they enforce those legislation studies.
Thank you very much, Maxwell, for that update. Like Maxwell said, that news conference is still ongoing, so we'll get you more updates as and when it progresses. Now, we'll stay with this issue because on his part, the project coordinator of the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Water and Sanitation Projects, George Esiedu, said desilting of some 22 major drains in Accra will commence next week.
Experience because we had opened up the drain and water was even going through the existing drain. So instead of getting over, it was far better. Yes, we are aware that during construction, if it rains, we might have that challenge. We should have waited for the rains to be over, but we needed to address this challenge. So we took the challenge on and then decided to go ahead, hoping that we might not encounter a heavy rainfall. And so we've had about 2 or 3 of it during the process, and all have been managed. So it is something that we were anticipating. But we brought in a heavy pumping machine, which will be able to do the pumping onto the drain, onto the existing drain. So all of these measures have been taken care of, except that it is bound to happen. So we are hoping that we will be able to get over it by the next 10 days. But we also bear with the public that in addressing the challenge, we will need to go through some of these things. So bear with us.
The 22 selected drains that you are going to work on, I just want you to throw more light on it.
Yes. You know, we have flashpoints within Accra. Now, these flashpoints are known. And so Ministry of Works and Housing, they have a flood control program. And as part of this 2019 flood control program, you will not be able to line all the drains at a go. So what they do is that why not open up and improve the channel so that flow will be able to move. And so we will not have accumulation of water that causes flooding. So the only thing we are doing at the moment is to open up, improve channel, all the channels within this area that we are known for flooding. And they have taken up a chunk of the drains, but we still have some other drains that needed to be desilted.
Now, it's very unfortunate to report that 4 bodies have been retrieved from a drain at Ejekojo following Sunday's heavy evening downpour. The 4 were among a number of people traveling in a pickup across the tunnel at Ejekojo near Tema. My colleague, Kojo Yangson, was on the ground and filed the following.
This is the side of the motorway where traffic moves from Tema to Accra. On a morning like this, it's extremely busy. As you can see, cars are running as usual on their way into the capital city. But last night, on this same road, because of the heavy rains, there was water everywhere. Now, if you have a look, I'll show you in just a second when the camera gets back to me. But all over here, there was water. Very high up, welling out of a water body, a little stream that runs under the motorway just at this spot. Now, normally, when you drive along this motorway, you can see the guardrails, which will tell you that there is something on either side. But last night, because of the heavy rain, this whole place was covered with water, and the drivers could not see the edges of the motorway. So a military pickup carrying 4 adults and a baby in the cabin and a number of passengers in the bucket, was driving along, reportedly coming from a funeral right here on this motorway. When they got to this spot, because this was all covered with water, they couldn't see the edges of the motorway, and the driver found himself veering off the motorway. You can see the tire treads here. When he got here, he tried to brake, but it was too late. Within 1 meter, the pickup was in the water. Come and have a look. Let me show you how deep this water is. Right now, after the floods have subsided, you can see the water level has gone all the way down. But last night, it was flooding up and flooding out over the motorway, so much that the driver could not see where he was going. He ended up in here. Now, all of the passengers who were in the bed of the truck were rescued by NADMO and bystanders. But the truck itself, the pickup, was washed away all the way down, further down the stream, and the rescuers could not find the pickup. So the 4 adults who were in the cabin and the baby, the 1-year-old baby, were never found. In fact, they were not found at the time until much later on when NADMO recovered the 4 adults. But the baby is still missing. Now, I can tell you who those 4 adults were. There were 2 military officers and 2 civilians and a baby. Warrant Officer Jabez Arthur is 45 years old. He was traveling with his wife, Warrant Officer Sarah Kwaji, who is 40 years old. They were traveling with Alice Ahin, 35, and Georgina Ahin, also 35. Georgina Ahin had the baby, a 1-year-old baby, who still has not been found. But the bodies of these 4 adults have been found.
And may their souls rest in peace. Now, away from the flooding, commuters and motorists who use the Asiman tunnel are appealing for that stretch to be fixed. They say whenever it rains, they spend hours in traffic to cross to either end of the road. Floodwaters overtake the tunnel, leaving behind tons of mud for the motorists to contend with. Now, motorists and passengers are running out of patience as the Asiman Municipal Assembly awaits the approval of some 800,000 Ghana cedis by government for engineers to fix the tunnel and the poor road linking it.
Complained the other time, comparing East Legon tunnel to this place. I believe the ministers, even the president, they don't regard us. I believe votes comes here more than East Legon. And the poor people, we live here. So we are many more than the East Legon, those places. So they should do it here. Morning like this, it's very alarming, it's very bad. School children will be on queue for almost about 8 hours before going to school. So please, let them do something about it.
I've been using this road for quite, let's say, more than 10 years, and it wasn't like this before, but recently it has become so bad. When it rains like this, cars hardly pass. Sometimes if I want to come and I charter a taxi, as soon as I just mention under bridge, they wouldn't want to come because of the way the road is very bad. Most of the cars that are small like this, when they pass through, water gets into the engines of them and spoil them. So they hardly come here when you request for them. And even if they will come, the amount they will charge you normally might be ×2 due to the water under the bridge. That's why. So I urge the government to really do something about this place because it's affecting us. Asiman Market is a main market and people do come here to shop every time. Today is market day. I came here. It wanted to rain, but thank God it didn't, or else I wouldn't have made it here today. So I just want the government to do something about this under bridge road. It's a major road. This is the only place that leads to Asiman, so they should try and do something about it.
So it's not top na semwesi na ejumai na krosu entimi ejuma biom. Ofa monso ana eso ataka mu ayema. Enti se na omoye islegodia no. Because penifo no omo sori waka na omo bra no mba yema ye. Ba ya ka nothing. What man said here. Traffic timichia na afedie ejumai the whole day timi ko tu. Because of the over bridge and it is mobile yasramo all the time no more ba no more betwa no dia kɔ ya kwan de emwa ye kura ma eduma ye kura ye hunu so especially nzuo no to a na se kwan no sa be pack bi won so be twa U10 na ashama for no mo banzo san twa U10 no ma san atene ko ne ya atene ko nwa empty sa ya ma eduma no nzuo mo ye de den dia ma de slab ban se omo aye na omo aye ne yanso anya de yankɔ na do for ye ble visa ye ni kama for wa mo aye de ye ne yanso be fe ho adwen wa ashama ase serious pa.
Now, still on this story, the Asiman Municipal Engineer Daniel Ififa said the problem remained unresolved due to financial challenges.
The main problem is that when it rains, you see that all the rain go there to stack. So we want to do a curb and some drain other side so that when it rains, the rain can just get a place to pass, and then the road will be free for commuters to also use.
Engineer, this problem has been here time immemorial. Why is the problem not being fixed?
Well, the problem is not being fixed. You know, this is not the only problem we have in the municipality. We have a lot of issues regarding development. So it's one of the challenges, and I see it to be a financial commitment that we were not having as an assembly. But now that the central government has come in, you know, it's beyond our budget, but now that the central government has come in, we are sure that very soon it will be resolved.
Now, the Municipal Roads Engineer Joseph Commodore said the tunnel and other auxiliary works will be fixed immediately the Assembly gets approval for the cost involved.
So work has been done already. We've sent estimate to the Urban Roads Department for approval. Okay, you can see that some level of work has been done from the Lashibi. The asphaltic works have been done to a certain level, and we've done a ceiling works, bituminous surfacing to a certain stretch. What remains is approaches from the Klagon to the bridge is about 200 meters, and to the other end to the Ajay Kojo is 100 meters. So the remaining 300 meters is the outstanding works to be done. There will be some minor rehabilitation works, which is construction of the side drains and caps, okay, and earthworks, and finally the ceiling works, which is primer seal and seal. So after that, we'll do an asphalt overlay on this stretch so that we can make good the issues here, the defect.
How much would it cost the municipality or even the Urban Roads Department to get this problem resolved? Any estimate?
Yeah, with the approaches, the channel approaches, an estimated amount of 800,000 will cost us to do that.
800,000 US dollars?
No, Ghana cedis.
Ghana cedis.
Yeah. That's right.
And we are waiting on the government to fund this.
Yeah, we are waiting for the approval from Urban Roads.
Now, construction work for a 275-meter international bridge across the Black Volta will soon start. Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways Anthony Cabo says the construction of the bridge will facilitate trade and commerce between Ghana and Burkina Faso. Mr. Cabo disclosed this as the project site during a meeting with a delegation from Burkina Faso. Rafiq Salam reports from Dikpe.
A long-awaited over 60-year-old dream about to be accomplished. Delegation from the office of the Prime Minister of Burkina Faso is meeting its Ghanaian counterparts at Dikpe for the construction of a 275-meter international bridge across the Black Volta. They were joined by chiefs from the Laurel traditional area, led by its president, Napo Wole Kabu III.
People under ECOWAS will move freely across two countries, and it will develop our place. Especially the impact will be very great across our friends and sisters over there. So it's a good news, and we think that the whole of Laura should be pleased that His Excellency has decided to address some need that has been pending for over 60 years.
Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, Antonio Abefakabo, showed them the designs of the bridge, as a larger portion will be on the Burkinabe side, and therefore the need to engage the Burkinabe authorities to enhance smooth work.
This project will not run into any problems, cross-border related issues, land litigations, because farms are going to be affected, and in many cases, project-affected persons must be looked after under the project. And so the committee will help with that process and make sure that both sides have a common understanding about the importance of the project. But of course, the importance of the project is known to both sides, and that is why our commitment levels are so high.
It is a major route that is significant in the lives of the people who live in these countries. Many people use this route for commercial purpose. In the rainy season, they are however cut off due to the rising water levels at the Black Volta, forcing most of them to use canoes to cross from one end to the other. Due to its proximity, the Laura Weekly Market is more patronized by Burkinabés who lives across the border.
Last 2 years, the president himself was here to inspect the site where this construction will be going on. The 2018 budget statement, which was read on behalf of the president by the finance minister, captured this particular bridge. Since then, a lot of work has been going on in the background in terms of doing the soil testing, working on the concept, working on the design, and also finalizing the structural work as far as the bridge is concerned. Indeed, it's a 275 meter bridge, and it's a very long bridge which will be constructed to aid trade between these two important economic zones.
The contract has been awarded to Greener Company. They have already sunk some wells to test the soil texture of the area. To Fideli is the team leader of the delegation from Burkina Faso.
Il m'a dit donc qu'il faut vite faire pour savoir ce qu'il en est. Il voulait même nous détacher quelqu'un de spécialement dans le
My
secteur.
coming here is to ensure that within this year, the project is carried out very fast. That will establish a good relationship between us. Even though we are in different countries, we are the same people, and I'm looking forward to see the project come into fruition.
D'ici, de la zone là. Lui-même il traîne d'Agara, il est de Dissine, et il sait très bien que s'il y a un projet comme ça qui nous lie déjà Laura.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Dipe.
From Roads and Bridges, police prosecutors are handling the case of a driver and his conductor accused of assaulting a police officer, and they have submitted a video recording of the incident to a Wager Circuit Court. This is the final piece of evidence they were required to submit before the commencement of trial. The driver, Francis Boabing, and his conductor, Albert Ansa, are standing trial on charges including assault on a public officer after a video of their altercation with a policeman went viral. Their lawyers have since accused some policemen of brutalizing the two while they were in custody, causing the court to grant them bail. Joseph Akable was in court and now reports.
Some documents had been submitted to the court at the previous hearing, but police prosecutors had indicated that the video recording of the incident remained outstanding. Aside from some additional documents that they had indicated to the court, they will be submitted at the next date. That was carried out on Monday as they handed those documents to the court and made it available to the defense team for that matter. Lead counsel Martin Pebu did ask that the court allows it some time to study that piece of evidence, aside from the fact that they were carrying out some investigations relating to the period with which the accused persons served time in various police facilities before they were subsequently granted bail. So the case has been adjourned to April 29 for case management conference to take place. Reporting for Joy News on the Wager Circuit Court, my name is Joseph Akable.
So another raging issue, and the Director General of the Ghana Education Services, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwah, on Thursday, April 11, launched the new basic curriculum as part of ongoing reforms in the sector. And now, Professor Opoku-Amankwah said the Education Ministry is embarking on the reforms, particularly at the pre-tertiary level, to make education more responsive to the human resource and development needs of Ghana. Let's narrow into the curriculum, because what is generating controversy is the introduction of pupils in the basic school to the history involving J.B. Dankwa, one of the big six, before they even get to hear about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who is regarded as key in Ghana's history. The chairman of the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NACA, Professor Kwame Osei-Kwarteng, says the move is intended to introduce personalities in Ghana's history progressively.
We were not writing the history of, we didn't design the curriculum based on any political consideration. We designed the curriculum purely based on professional historical consideration. History, when you talk about history, is the study of the past, important past events that impacted on a society, politically, socially, economically, and culturally. If that event is relevant to the society, then that event becomes history. So, when you are writing history, history deals with date, period. It is also chronological, because period and date are virtually synonymous, because when you are talking about 1900, you start from 1901, 1902, and then you'll be moving on to the end of the century or something like that. So we were looking at the history of Ghana from the beginning of the geographical space called Ghana, which the Portuguese at a point in time called Gold Coast. We were looking at all the historical figures, you get me, who emerged at the time. Some of them came before others, and some will be given prominence as we progress.
Okay.
Will be given prominence as we progress.
I'll start with this story. Essayist and literary historian Ivor Ajimandia, speaking on News Desk earlier, noted he does not have any problem with the new curriculum so far as history will not be distorted as the end of it all.
I've looked at the 70-page document that you sent me, and the areas or pages where you said a particular individual appears, Dr. J.B. Dankwa, and where others don't appear, and where Nkrumah appears. I think it's all in order. If Dankwa appears 10 times, and if Nkrumah appears 3 times or whatever, it all depends on the context in which it is. If others are being brought to the picture because previously they were neglected and they're based on facts, that is fine. But I think Nkrumah stands out in the 50s and 60s into when he was overthrown in terms of his dominance in the politics of the nation. Prior to independence, post-independence, until he left the scene in 1966. I'm not very worried about other aspects of our history, other interpretations that are coming up, but at the end of it, I think it's clear who played what role, who was prominent in what process, and who at the end had the prize, as I said. But what I know is history that doesn't have much influence, does not normally last. So it depends on how it's looked at. Of course, Dankwa played a role up to a point, but that role cannot overtake other roles. So if you are teaching children, if you are teaching school kids as to the processes, the historical connections that led to independence, it should be very clear the junctions that we got to before the ultimate goal.
Now, 600 out of 7,000 applicants have made it to the semi-finals of the MCD Entrepreneurial Challenge. CEO of the MCD Group of Companies, Daniel Macaulay, says successful Ghanaian entrepreneurs have a bigger role to play in raising young entrepreneurs and inculcating in them the fighting spirit which his challenge seeks to achieve. He spoke on the AM show.
I believe that entrepreneurs like us, we have a big part to play. To have the vision, our challenge is quite different.
Okay.
It's not like The Apprentice, it's not like the Shark Tank, it's not like Dragon's Den. It's unique. We pick you, look at your business, we mentor, build you up, and set you up.
Okay.
We have no interest in your business.
You're not buying them out?
No, not.
You're not partnering them?
No.
Okay.
No. We're setting you up. Eventually, I'm looking at the dynamics, and after we set out the Magnan Equity Fund, that is where we will come in, take a percentage, and after you are able to stand on your feet, we sell the percentage back to you.
Okay.
We're not interested in the business.
Okay.
All I want to see young men channeling their energy, their ideas to the right angles. One thing I noticed during the challenge, I realized that we have a lot of talents. We have a lot of talents, young men with ideas, but they lack the fighting spirit. They give up easily. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to take some risk, and you have to fight.
The Midday Entrepreneurial Challenge begins Tuesday on Joy News. You want to stay with us for that. You're still watching Joy News today with me, Daniel Dazi.